the Sustaining Creativity Podcast. I'm your host, Mari Riesberg. Over the past several years, I've combined my degrees in acting and somatic psychology to share my sustaining creativity techniques with performers. And now I've decided to share it with a bigger audience that includes you. I believe we are all creative, and this podcast is all about that. I'll be interviewing people from all backgrounds, ages, and creativity experiences to share just how creative we all are. Today, I'm chatting with Brittany Jeffery, actress, baker, and sugar cookie decorator. She started her baking business 3 years ago at the encouragement of her coworkers, and today she's flexing her creativity through amazing cookie decorating. Please enjoy Brittany Jeffery. Welcome to the Sustaining Creativity Podcast. Today, I'm here with Brittany Jeffery. She is an actor, performer, and baker or cookie decorator. Is that how you describe yourself?
Yeah, baker, but focus on cookie decorating.
Awesome. I love it. I found you on, I think it was Facebook, and your Schitt's Creek cookie, Moira's hair, was so fun. I immediately sent you an email and said, I would love to have you on the podcast. And so that's how you're here today. But
I'm so glad.
Yes, thank you so much. And if you wouldn't mind just letting our listeners know a little bit more about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, sure. So my name's Brittany, and I'm an actor here in New York City. A couple years ago, I started baking for my coworkers at, of course, my restaurant job that I was working at, because I'm an actor, so I waited tables. And it's just kind of a thing I did because I'm one of those people who, like, every year or two, I like to learn a new craft. I'm very hungry to educate myself with whatever it is. But I love arts and crafts, anything that has to do with creativity and being able to express my creativity with something else besides just acting and singing. So anyways, I did that. My coworkers were like, this is awesome, but you should probably charge people for this. So I started by doing mostly French macarons and cakes and pies. And then I sort of stumbled upon, Instagram, going down an Instagram wormhole. I stumbled upon sugar cookies. And that sort of combined my love of baking and my love of drawing, painting. And it's kind of just taken off since then.
That's amazing. Yeah. And were you like a kid who loved to bake cookies, or were cookies being made in your household and that's where some of the inspiration came from, or is it?
Yeah, so I've always loved food, for sure.
Me too. You're not alone.
Mm-hmm. I actually, when I was little, my Nana, who's my father's mother, she's the one who sang, she's passed, but the one who sang and the one who baked. So I'm kind of like a mini me Dorothy, which was her name. And I only got to see her about once a year because I grew up in Germany till I was 16.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and she actually once flew to Germany with a blueberry pie in her luggage, which, as you can imagine, did not go well.
It sounds like an interesting adventure story that she probably had.
She was well into her 80s at this point, and just thought that was a good idea. But so that's kind of where my love of all things began, was with her. She taught me how to sing my first song. She introduced me to The Wizard of Oz. And then she was always baking. So I learned how to make chocolate chip cookies when I was really young. And I actually ended up hiding in a closet and eating raw cookie dough. And I got salmonella. So,
oh, no.
Yeah. You would think that would have stopped me from ever doing that again, but it definitely hasn't. I for sure eat raw cookie dough on occasion.
I remember doing that as a kid as well.
Yeah.
That's the plus of making cookies, is you get to eat the raw cookie dough while you have little for the cookies to bake and be ready to eat. Yeah. Exactly. I love it. Well, you've talked a little bit about creativity and kind of being inspired by your grandmother. And I am curious what creativity means to you.
Honestly, to me, it's like my survival skill, if that makes any sense. I, all growing up, when my version of playing would either be like, yes, I would play with my Barbies, but my favorite part would be creating a world for them in my room with whatever I had. Or I would, sit and draw for like literally like 4 hours. I mean, when I was really little. And even in school, I really wasn't good at any sort of science or math, and I excelled at language, music, and art. And so even in my math classes and all that, my teachers would have meetings with my mom and say, she's a great artist because we see her drawing all math class, but she really sucks at math. So, and then even as I got older, there was one point in my 20s when I sort of had lost the creativity of it all. I'm sure, I don't know if you know this from being in New York, and I don't know if you auditioned in New York, but it sort of sucks the passion and the creativity out of performing.
Oh, yes. I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, because it becomes a job, and it's every day, and you're so, there's so much pressure from yourself, and not pressure from your family, but, they're always asking you like, oh, are you in a show? Are you, and people who don't live here who haven't experienced it don't know how hard it is. And so I kind of really was sort of in a rut in my mid to late 20s. And that's when this yearning to find something outside of theater that sort of fed this creative monster within me. Because it was hungry. It was starving at that point. So I took up knitting, I took up crocheting, I sold like crocheted baby hats for a while. And all the while I was waiting tables, which is another very difficult business to be in. Yeah. But which allowed me to pay my bills. But anyways, all this to say that creativity has really saved me time and time again from myself and from kind of going down this what am I doing spiral, which as an actor most of us do at some point, because this business is very, very hard, and you're not rewarded frequently for your hard work. So I think finding specifically doing these cookies has been a full circle creative endeavor, which has really sort of soothed my soul, because I talk to a client. Most of my clients luckily kind of give me creative control. Sometimes they'll say like, oh, this is our invitation, but then you can build around that. And I make the cookies and they're always so happy in the end. And so it's just this full circle creative outlet for me. And I don't think I would survive without having that creativity in my life, without being able to express myself in that way, because I do express myself that way as well in theater and acting, but it's become not as rewarding, which is sad. I'm trying to find my way back to that, but this has been such a lovely, lovely gift along the way. And I always say the creative side of my brain is like on overdrive, and the other part just doesn't work. So it's broken. So if I don't have that creativity in my life, then I feel lost. So
yeah, I love what you said, that creativity soothes your soul. And that really speaks to me as well, of really needing that creative outlet, whatever it is, be it knitting, crocheting, finger painting, however you are expressing yourself in that fashion, cookies, baking, making dinner. But that definitely resonates with me as well. So nice. And you talked a little bit about kind of some of the challenges that you can face around creativity, and how have you navigated those challenges when they do come up?
Being a creative person, I think we are, as a creative, we're actually more able to kind of find a different avenue.
Mm-hmm.
I think if I wasn't a creative person, I may have given up at some point. I may have said, that's it. I'm just gonna throw in the towel and get a random job that I don't care about,
Right.
But it really is that creative fire and passion and honestly curiosity. I have this great curiosity about the world that sort of keeps me moving forward, keeps me from from choosing a different path that may be the wrong one.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I think as creatives, we actually are much more able to sort of morph into whatever we need to morph into, to enable us to remain sane and remain, we sort of like will find creativity wherever it sort of pops up. And I think, like I said, my creativity has sort of saved me a bunch of different times, from just laying on my couch and watching Schitt's Creek all day.
Which is not a bad pastime. I fully support that as well. That idea of having curiosity. I love that you said that, because I think that is such a great skill and tool for other people who may not consider themselves to be like quote unquote creatives or a creative person, but by looking through that lens of curiosity, it can start to ignite some creativity in someone. So
I think the gift that a creative has, and also the flaw maybe, is that we do still have this childlike curiosity about the world, which is beautiful, but it also sometimes allows you to get hurt more easily, because you can see the world through these rainbow colored glasses on occasion, and then all of a sudden you're like, someone shakes you and you're back in the black and white movie. And I think a lot of muggles, as us theater people would call them, people who say they're not creative, they haven't had to dive into that curiosity that they had when they were kids in a long time. And if they did, they might see, I am interested in these other things. Do you have to be amazing at them? No, who cares?
Right.
But like, when was the last time you sat down and just colored something, like just because, like out of your imagination? Probably a long time ago,
For sure. Definitely a long time ago. Not like with a coloring book, I've probably done that more recently, but just creating on my own, definitely decades. I love that you're talking about childhood and all of these things that it sounds like you did as a kid, and baking as a kid. What would you say your earliest memory of being creative is?
I mean, I definitely remember being at my Nana's and sitting at her piano, like when I was really little. I think even before we moved to Germany when I was 3. So like probably right before that, there's actually a picture, which is like helps me, remember, but and her sort of encouraging me to just sing along with the piano. Like, I was 3, like I know what I was doing, but sort of being allowed to just come up with your own little song. I think that was one of my earliest memories. And also just drawing. I mean, I was always drawing, like every day. I'm the oldest of 5, and my brothers, when we got older, they would be wrestling with each other, and I would just be coloring in the corner for hours and hours and hours. I think those are my earliest memories of an adult saying, like, here you go, like, take this and run with it, and see what you come up with.
Do you remember what you would draw as a kid?
I drew a lot of flowers. as my mom reminds me now, because she really wants us to have kids, like yesterday, she jokes that like I always was like, when I have kids, they're going to be named Lily and Rose. Like I was just obsessed with flowers. I don't know. I've since veered from those names, even though they are beautiful. But yeah, I drew. Oh, I also, I think when I was like 7 or 8, I drew an entire like storybook with pictures of these little figurines I had. They were just called little dragons or something. They all had weird names like hello, cup, goodbye, like weird names. But so I drew a whole cartoon with them, and I asked my mom to send it to Disney because it felt it was really good. And
that's what you do as a kid. You have these ideas of like, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to send it to the people who make this.
That's how it works, right?
Complete sense.
And actually years later, I was like going through a drawer or something in my dad's desk, and I found.
Oh, you found it.
I found it. My mom was like, I'm sorry. Like, I didn't know where to send it. Like, I don't know. And of course it was like, I mean, the drawings were good, but the writing was like, what are you even talking about?
But I'm sure, you know, it made sense in your child brain that
of course
this is exactly what these little figures would be saying.
Yeah,
in this moment.
This is what Disney would want, obviously.
100%. I love it. That's hilarious. And it, you know, makes a lot of sense that like you would have those ideas of that curiosity and to draw something and create something and then say, hey mom, send it to the top of the mountain for
to the top.
Send it right to the top. That's where it needs to go. That's amazing. Well, you've talked.
Only I had that confidence now. You know?
Yeah, that is amazing how kids show up with exactly who they are and like I can do it. I'll do it.
No questions asked. Yeah.
No questions asked. And now as adults looking back, I'm like, wow, that would be helpful at times right now.
It really would. It truly would.
Yeah. Well, you've talked a little bit about kind of your inspiration with your Nana and other things, but what or who inspires you right now in your life?
You know, it's so interesting actually, since I've started making these cookies and creating art again, I mean, everything inspires me. You know, when we went on this road trip, Colorado is one of my favorite. I mean, it's such a magical place. One of my favorite places in the world. And just walking around there, going on a hike. I mean, everything I see, I want to like make a cookie out of it, or I want to like create create art with it. And the same goes with when we went to Utah, or we love breweries. So we went to a lot of breweries on our trip. And, you know, I see like all the cool labels and I'm like, oh, how cool. Like maybe I'll, you know, make a label on Procreate and I'll like enter a contest. You know, that's how my brain works. Like I just, I immediately go to like, what can I create out of this beauty that I'm seeing, or this like really interesting thing that I'm seeing. My husband's always like, what are you taking a picture of? I'm like, don't worry about it.
It'll be a cookie later
that I'm doing. So honestly, everything. And especially recently, you know, I'm so now entrenched in this cookie world, which like, who knew that this was a thing? On Instagram, there are like thousands of cookiers, as we call ourselves. And some of the things these people do, like, you know, my friends and my family are like, oh my God, your cookies. I'm like, no, but like, you need to see this other person who's like amazing. What? And I'm just always learning from them and learning like, it sounds strange to even say it, but like learning new royal icing techniques and learning, you know, how to use all these different edible tools and to create different textures. And it's just a really cool thing because it's like a never ending book on cooking, but I'm seeing it live with these people. And they also do these things called cookie collabs. So one cookier will say like on October 13th, this is the theme. Like today I joined one that's called the Gratitude Jar Cookie Collab. So you'll make a cookie that has something to do with a jar and whatever you're grateful for being inside of this jar. So that also then like completely sets a like fire under my creativity butt and gets me like super jazzed and excited, and and then we all share with each other, and we share their work and they share our work, and it's this whole really interesting world that I never thought I would be in, but I'm constantly inspired by these women and some men, mostly women, by their creativity. And a lot of them are like nurses, and then they do this, and cooking, like I've made a lot of cookies and it takes up a lot of time. So I'm constantly inspired not only by their art, but also by their work ethic and by their energy. And, it's like,
yeah, I mean,
amazing.
I'm not a royal icing cookie or sugar cookie. That's not my cookieing, but people who I know who have done it say it takes hours to do one cookie, and that to me, that sounds exhausting. And I'm so impressed that this is people's outlet for expression and creativity. And that's why I love it. But
and a lot of people don't even, like a lot of the women I follow, some of the really good ones, they don't even sell cookies. Like they just do it just because they, it's their way of, it's their outlet after work, or, they have 4 kids and they're doing these cookies, in the middle of the night or whatever. So that's been such a gift to me, and an inspiration for sure.
Nice. And it sounds like there's a really strong community of cookiers out there as well.
There really is. It's like, it's weird because, when we were teenagers, like people had cell phones, but like not like now.
Right.
But now we're adults and we're like making friends over the internet. Like it's so weird. And like,
who knew that's how you would make friends or get introduced to people? And
it's so strange. Because I was never really, I'm still not really a super techie person. My husband is, but with Instagram, I'm like addicted to it. He's like, get off of there. You're just looking at cookies. And I'm like, sorry. Like, I like looking at cookies.
Whatever brings you joy, right?
That's right. Especially during this time.
Yes. Oh, 100%, especially. I'm wondering, with the community of the cookieing, how has your community influenced or impacted your creativity?
Oh, I mean, in both my acting and my baking, I take so many acting classes, and still even during COVID, I've been taking mostly on camera acting classes because it's just less weird because it's going to be on camera. So it's fine if you're like over Zoom. And then, with the cooking, everything's online with that community. But not only have I been inspired by their work and influenced by their work, like trying to use some techniques I've seen them do, whether it's in acting or baking, and use them in my own work in my own way. That's really something really cool that I've learned being in both of these businesses, is like, it's fine to watch these other creatives and take in what they're doing. Don't copy what they're doing because that's illegal. Frowned upon, but take it in and use them as inspiration to then create your own version of whatever they're doing. Because I think that's in life, in anything, it's so important to not forget who you are within your creativity. Because I think it is easy to do that, because you see all these incredible people, whether they're singers or actors or artists, and you're like, I want to be like that person. It's like, that's great, but you're never going to be that person because that person is already that person. So, take what you love that they're doing, take it in, and then see how you can use it to express your own, creativity, to express your own passion. And so I think they've really influenced me in that way. I've just learned so much from watching these incredibly creative people who are creative in different ways than I am, but who have allowed me, who have shared their creativity with me and then have allowed me to, you know, use those ideas with my own stuff. So that's been pretty amazing. Yeah. And just also the support, you know, the support all around in both communities is like magical, you know.
Like, I love that there isn't like a competition, or that there is so much support. I think that's really important, because I think a lot of people can get easily caught up in the like, oh, I have to do it better, or I could do it better than someone, or, oh, someone did it better than me and now that means I can't do it, or some other story that we're telling ourselves.
Yeah. And of course you know, I'm 34 and I still get in that mindset, more so with theater than with cooking, for sure, you know, but it's like, you're holding yourself back if you do that, which I know in my brain, but it still happens, of course, you know.
Yeah.
You always want to be better, and it's hard.
It's hard to step out of that thought pattern, and it's, even not being like full-time in the theater anymore, I find it in myself, even watching people perform, I'm like, oh, I think, wait, I've chosen not to do that. Why am I still comparing myself?
Yeah. Well, and I think a lot of creatives are, you know, also perfectionists, like not necessarily type A, but we are perfectionists. Because we're so passionate about the art we're sharing, and we want it to be the best, but like, it's art. So, you know, everyone likes
interpretation.
Yeah. It's like, that's why do we put ourselves through that? But we do. So.
Yeah. It's a whole nother podcast. Why performers put themselves through it.
Therapy pod. That's your therapy.
Yeah, exactly. That's the therapy podcast for sure. But I love that there is such support in both communities, and that's super important to continue to try new things and not feel rejected, or not feel like the things that you are inspired by don't, and then in turn go back and inspire someone else when you've taken that and created something.
Yeah, exactly.
Your own. I love it. Well, when you think about kind of everyday issues in your life, what's an everyday issue that you have had to use creativity to solve?
So this is so weird, but when I'm thinking about this question, my hair comes to mind, which is super weird, but it's just because I know a lot of people have trouble with like doing their hair and everything. Not today. You guys can't see it, but my hair is not beautiful today. But that is another thing that I am really good at. I'm really good at doing hair, and I do really like crazy braids and whatever. And that's sort of, I guess that's my like everyday thing, where I use my creativity to not only make myself look good, but it's also a fun thing, and it's always a conversation starter. And I've actually done hair for weddings, and I'm just one of those people, like, as I said, my creative brain is on like overdrive all the time.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of these random things that I'm good at, that I don't necessarily do every day, but that people are like, how do you do that? I'm like, I don't know. I just, it's just how my brain works, you know?
I just can.
I just can. It's not super like helpful for life in general, but my hair looks cute. I don't have problems with my hair.
I love it though, but that is like, I would think not many people imagine looking at doing their hair as this everyday creative process, because it's such a habit, or it's like so normal, quotes, air quotes, that you just do your hair. So thinking about it through that lens, I think is awesome. And being able to say like, no, this is a creative experience doing my hair every day.
When it's weird, it's sort of been like a thing throughout my life, especially in restaurants I worked at, because, you know, you have to wear your hair up when you're waiting tables. And it's sort of the same thing as like, you know, I crocheted, and then I did this, and then I started baking, but baking is like this never ending, you know, You can learn so much for years and years and years and never learn everything. But the hair thing is sort of the same thing. I'll learn like a new thing that I can do with my hair, and then I'll do it for like 3 months every day. And then if I change it, my coworkers would literally like lose their mind. Like, they're like, who are you? This is not the Brittany hairdo. Like, what are you doing? You know, so to them, it was like, I like, you know, shook them that day and changed their world completely because I did my hair differently.
That's great though. I mean,
yeah.
I was on vacation and spent time with my 4-year-old niece and did countless braids.
Of course. Absolutely.
Everything is about the braid right now for her. So
oh, so
I know
cute.
I can appreciate the creativity that goes into doing your hair.
Yeah. And you know, that is from my mom, because my mom did my hair every day when I was a kid, like in gorgeous braids. And my sister doesn't know how to braid. During quarantine, my sister's 10 years younger than me, but we were living with her at my parents' house, and I would braid her hair every day for her job. And she has this gorgeous, like, raven hair.
I love it.
So I had a blast
passing that on.
Passing the torch and, you know, helping my sister look nice for work, and
yeah, teaching her along the way, maybe if she wants to learn.
Maybe. I know. I'm like, More was like, how do you not know how to braid? I just keep saying that to her. Like, I don't know. I just don't know how to do it.
That's a good question. I know. I'm thinking now, when did I learn how to braid? I think I learned on like Cabbage Patch Dolls.
Yeah.
When I was young. Like a little
Yeah,
kid.
I couldn't French braid till late. I know that because I like taught myself, even though my mom French braided my hair. But regular braid, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, like dolls. Because I remember doing like friendship bracelets and braiding.
Yeah.
And that was a big part of my childhood. But
yep.
Yeah. French braids, all of the braids.
All the braids.
I love it.
Well, you have that gorgeous red hair.
Thank you. Right now it is, I am in desperate need of a haircut. My quarantine hair is very...
Oh, mine was going strong, and finally my sister went somewhere and it looked amazing, and I was like, yes, I gotta go. Yeah. Get me in there.
The question I ask everyone, what would you say your secret to creativity is?
I think honestly the secret is curiosity. I think in order to remain creativity can't happen, I don't think, without curiosity, without the want and the need to learn something new. Because to me, creativity means, you know, sort of like figuring out how to create something, but, you know, taking something that looks like this and turning it into something else, or using it as something else, you know, just for your own happiness, for someone else's happiness, to solve a problem. You know, my hair's crazy, my hair's dirty, so I'm gonna make it a cool braid.
Right, there you go.
Yeah, but I think I also think patience. Patience is a virtue, and it is also a tool to be a successful creative. Not only for when you're an actor and you need to be patient about your career, you know, always, but then also in, you know, anything more artistic in the creative world. You know, you might not be good at it at first, and you might never be amazing, but if you're patient with yourself and you know, you keep that curiosity up and you watch videos about it, or you whatever, you're gonna get better, and you're gonna feel great because you're being creative, and hopefully you can do it with other people. Maybe you can teach your kids. You know, it's like, especially during this time, I think creativity is so key. You're seeing these parents like building ski slopes, you know, in their houses out of like pillows. You know, that's creativity. That's like, you're taking something that is one thing and you're turning it into something else. That's how simple it is. It doesn't have to be this great masterpiece, you know. So I think just being curious and being able to look at the world and seeing things for something other than they are.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like when you're a kid. I was on the train this one time to my parents' house in New Jersey, and there are all these like little moats, like swampy swamps next to the train, and there was a tire like floating in one of the little puddles, and I heard this little girl say, "Mommy, look, it's a turtle, you know. And that's like the brain that you just need to have
Mm-hmm.
for creativity, because you sort of need to see the world as this like magical place in order to, you know, be your best creative self. And it's hard, it's not easy, but you sort of have to practice it. And I think that's why we have kids, you know, a lot of the time, because they, you know, we need them because they remind us of like the magic in the world, because we forget very easily about that. So yeah, magic, curiosity, you know,
Patience. I love all of it.
Patience.
Those are great,
Yeah.
great things. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me
Absolutely. This was a
today.
blast.
Yay. And if people want to get in touch with you or learn more about your cookieing, how might they go about doing that?
So for my cookies, my Instagram handle is @itsbritsbatch. It's a play on It's Brittany. I can't say the word because it's a bad word. From a Britney Spears song.
You totally can say it.
Okay.
It's fine.
It's Brittany bitch. It's Brittany bitch. Yeah, so it's Brits Batch, all one word, no punctuation. And then I don't do the Twitter, and my acting one is Brittany Lane Jeffery.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And is that on Instagram and Facebook, or is that a website?
That's on the Instagram.
On the Instagram.
And yeah.
Perfect.
That's
Excellent. Well, again, thank you so much. It was such a joy chatting about cookieing and hair and all of the things.
Too many things.
Thanks for listening to the Sustaining Creativity Podcast. We'd love to keep in touch, so like us on Facebook and Instagram. We are Sustaining Creativity. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Tag your friends and your family so they can listen too. We love to hear from you, so leave your comments, reviews, and questions. Tune in Tuesdays for a new episode. And remember, with creativity, anything's possible.